Welcome. This is the second of our webinars on a day in the life. In January, Dr. Pete Hohnbein discussed his consulting work with Daryl Sink and Associates. Today, we'll be meeting with 3 learning experience designers from Anthem. It's my privilege to welcome our guests today, Peggy Naydock, Jennifer Brown, and Pamela Perry. What does a learning experience designer do? How is that different from instructional design? In addition to answering these questions, our guests will also discuss how their group is organized, how they align their efforts with strategic business objectives, the type of learning experiences they create and for whom, the relationship of learning and the other forms of performance support that Anthem provides. They'll also answer our questions. Peggy, Jen, and Pam, we're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you, Steve, and welcome everyone to the Shop Talk, a day in the life of a learning experience designer. Before we go ahead and get started, the team would like to begin with a few introductions. We'd like to share our passions and what led us to our roles with Anthem. Again, my name is Peggy Naydock, and my career choice is led by a number of factors that have occurred in my life. One of my lifelong passions is helping others. This led me to rescuing and fostering dogs. Currently, I have 3 Cocker Spaniel rescues that I've worked with over the years to regain their trust, show them that there are people who will love them and give them a happy life. My other passion has to do with my development in the form of higher education. I decided to return to college after being out of school for quite a few years. This change has truly enhanced my business skills and my knowledge. My passion for helping others and development extends into my professional career as a learning experience designer. Having 14 plus years with Anthem, I've been privileged to learn new and innovative ways to develop training in addition to mentoring and coaching my colleagues. So that's a little bit about me, and now I'll turn it over to Jen so she can tell you a little bit about herself.
Thank you, Peggy. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I've actually been a designer for over 10 years, and all of which have been with Anthem. I started my journey as a subject matter expert. I then moved into a trainer role and lastly landed in the designer role. I am passionate about many things, but if I had to choose one, it's probably my passion of helping others, whether it's my personal or professional life. I do take great pride in motivating others to achieve their goals. And then lastly, I'm a lifelong learner, and I am currently pursuing my bachelor's in business communication. So now I'm going to pass it over to Pam Perry. Pam?
Hey, thanks. I've been in training and development for about 15 years and I have my master's in business administration. I've been with Anthem now for full-time for a year, started as a contractor and just completely fell in love. My passions are the same, helping others and truly process improvement. How do we make life easier and how do we make life better? In starting with training and development, I started in classroom training and then had branched out into learning management system implementations and then creating online training. So this is really an exciting opportunity, and thank you so very much. And I'm going to turn it back over to Peggy.
Thank you, Pam. And also joining us today are Erica Russell, Angelique Nassau, and Tony Fabrage. They are 3 of our learning and experience managers, and they will be assisting with during our Q&A session. During today's Shop Talk, the team will share some of the opportunities you can experience in the corporate world, one of those being the flipped classroom approach. First, we'll share a little bit about who we are, what we do, along with our business objectives. In addition, we'll talk about change management and the flipped approach. We'll take a deep dive into the components of the flipped approach, share the flipped program results, and finally, we'll open the floor up for questions. Jen?
All right. Thank you, Peggy. So I'm going to start off, kind of talk about who we are and what we do. So who are we? So we're a team of over 150 talented associates comprised of learning experience and performance support designers that provide consulting, design, development, and performance support to over 10,000 employees. So now we're going to look at who makes up that 10,000 employees. So in our commercial and specialty business area, we support member provider services, clinical, claims and correspondence, enrollment and billing, financial operations and sales. And then we also have our government business division, where we support both Medicaid and Medicare operations and clinical, federal employee program, and national government services. So you're probably asking, that's great, but who are they? Who are our learners? So those roles include member and provider service representatives, registered nurses, medical doctors. We have different types of clinicians, such as dietitians and social workers. And we also have a role within clinical that is non-clinical support. We also have claims and correspondence analysts, member and billing representatives, and in our sales area, we have our account service representatives and sales reps. So now I'm going to hand it over to Pam, who's going to discuss the learning experience and performance support design role, as well as others, a little further.
Thanks, Jen. So we've looked at who we support, and now we're going to look at the team offering the support. This infographic represents everyone that makes it work. And we look at it as who are the people in our neighborhood, because it really takes an entire neighborhood for us to get this done. We can't do it alone. So we'll start with the learning consultants. They manage the projects and the resources to complete the project. The learning experience designers create classroom, virtual, and flipped classroom training content. And we are all three learning experience designers. The manager partners with all of the work teams, removes barriers and roadblocks to ensure team success. Our e-learning designers create the e-learning for the Anthem team members. IT, well, they keep our lights on. They're managing all of the technical aspects of our jobs, which is quite a task since so many of us work virtually. Performance support designers work side by side with us, the LEDs, for performance, and wrapping up is quality. They make sure all of our documents and all of our training meet the Anthem standards. Now I'm going to turn it back over to you, Peggy.
Thank you, Pam. So I'm going to talk about change management, the flipped approach, from a learning experience designer's perspective. We all know that change can be very complex and at the same time a sensitive undertaking, especially when we're asked in the business to move from a facilitator lecture classroom to a learner self-directed approach. Take notice to the screen. During the conversation, I plan to reference the change management methodology called ACAR: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. As a learning experience designer, we want to engage the business as our partners during the flipped approach. We want to do this by bringing them along for the flipped journey. So how do we drive change successfully and build relationships at the same time? We spread awareness by communicating the change to our business partners through attendance at stakeholder and management meetings. This is where we share our objectives and projected outcome for the flipped approach. We also attend project kickoff meetings to jumpstart the discussion with our managers and business partners. This is where we want to give them clarity on what we expect from them and their associates during the flipped approach. We continue building our business partnerships through weekly project meetings. This allows the learning experience designer to share and discuss design and prototyping ideas with the project team. We also publish public service announcements in the form of newsletters that include change management topics. And finally, we attend staff meeting as a way to be transparent and address any concerns or answer questions the business may have. And most of this time, this just requires us to work through the objectives one by one to alleviate any concerns about the FLIP training. Through this type of collaboration and engagement, we increase the impacted business desire and make them excited to be part of the change, because we are adapting to the learner's needs by creating training material specific to their line of business, and we encourage positive attitudes by placing the learner at the heart of the training, while we're giving them the opportunity to learn at their own pace, and also they have a flexible schedule they can learn through. We try to alleviate any type of resistance by sharing success stories with the business. And these can come in the form of metrics that matter results. And what the metrics that matter results are, it's our way that we measure by measuring and tracking and assessing the learner's performance. We also include any learner comments, testimonials from learners, or even have learners attend staff meetings to answer questions. We share the knowledge by giving our business partners a clear picture of the impacts and benefits that FLIP training provides by eliminating facilitator lectures and increasing practice time for the learner. We assess the associate's ability to learn by having a coaching plan in place. And our coaching plan can be done on a one-to-one basis with a facilitator learner, or as a group through the trainer or team, or both. As an LED, we developed the training in a blended format to ensure the learner's ability to perform. So how do we do this? Well, we develop quality single point of contact online courses along with a training environment for the learners to practice what they've learned as a way to increase their retention. Next, we send in our reinforcements to make sure the training sticks. And this includes one-on-one coaching sessions, which are called office hours, and that happens between the facilitator and the learner, or discussion boards to promote facilitator peer collaboration or peer-to-peer collaboration. Coaching may also include floor support at Go Live or Go Live hotlines. We include focus groups. So how the focus groups works is once the training is complete, the learning experience designer will gather learners' feedback and then debrief the feedback as a way that we can improve the FLIP learning experience. And finally, we assess the learner's ability through 30, 60, 90-day benchmarks in the form of skilled practical assessments. So now that I've discussed the learning experience designer's approach to change management, I'll turn it over to Pam, who will take a deep dive into the FLIP classroom and what it entails. Pam?
Thanks, Peggy. So we started by looking at why flipped. So we asked ourselves, what is the best way to train our staff quickly and efficiently and make the training meaningful? So we looked at various different models, but we really focused on what's happening with flipped K through 12. Students watching teachers recorded videos and then applying what they've learned in class. It's that old thing where you did all of the reading and the material while you were in classroom when you were in school, and then you went home and did the homework, which was the hard stuff. We're flipping that around. At home, you're going to do that stuff to learn, and with your instructor is where the rubber's going to meet the road. That's when we're going to really get down into the nitty-gritty. So how did we incorporate that into Anthem? Our flipped model is our short videos, we call them micro-learnings, e-learnings, reference materials, online discussions, games, assessments, and then some quality time with their instructors. So next we had to ask ourselves if we had the resources and tools to make it happen. And as you could see, yeah, we do. So some organizations are a one-stop LED shop, and that's important to keep in mind. Those individuals are responsible for pretty much each and every aspect of this slide that you're looking at right now. I've been very fortunate to be that person, and it really does broaden your range of skills and ability and your ability to move some things around quickly. Working with a team gives you so much more of a soft landing, some people to help you to get things done quickly, and some really great experience. So at Anthem, we have a team, and this is our team. The need is identified, and then the business partners will reach out to the learning and development team. This is in partnership with the manager. The learning experience designer then has the opportunity to work with the performance support designer. They work hand in hand with the LEDs, our learning consultants, and our learning project managers. The trainer, which is your SME coach, that's the person that has really been in the classroom teaching the content and the material. Your learning infrastructure support, those are the people that manage SmartShare, which is, I'll talk about in a minute, unique to Anthem. My Learning, which is our learning management system. IDGs, which are interactive decision guides. We take our workflows and process flows and create interactive guides online to help our members walk through that and our employees. Quick Steps, the LTI CMS content review, which we use when we create content to send to our reviewers and to track online, and publishing so that everyone can see the documents that have been approved. We have mentoring, and mentoring is for creating microlearnings, ECAS, assessments, for quality, and each team member is ensuring that we meet with the Anthem quality standards. So now we're going to look at one current syllabi that is in use for FLIP, our pre-certification nurse. So what we did is we began looking at the current syllabi and the content. We met with the SME trainer to really dig into the content, what is needed, what isn't, what needs to be revised. We then break down the syllabus into topics and subtopics, and then we begin to build. We determine what is the best mode available from our toolbox, and we determine that with our subject matter experts. And that could be a practice scenario, microlearning, an interactive offering tool. We use Camtasia, Captivate, Storyline, Articulate Presenter, Adobe Presenter. We create simulations. It could be an e-learning, a trainer demo. So our trainers do help create some things. An e-cast, a scavenger hunt, a game, a quiz, a Kahoot, some role plays. We've got online discussion boards, small group checkpoints, an individual checkpoint to create meaningful training. So we have so many resources at our hands to create this. So now we're going to look at the Atlas training from the syllabus. This is how it originally worked. Formerly, Atlas was taught online using a classroom, virtual training. We use Adobe Connect just like we're doing right now. And it was a paper-based training. You looked at a PowerPoint presentation, your trainer walked you through that, and you were given written material to read and to go through. But what we have now in looking at that same syllabus and that same content is self-paced flipped classroom with ECAS, microlearning, reference guides, and a virtual blackboard for online discussions, which is our SmartShare. So now if we think back to that Atlas training from the original Adobe Connect document-based training, we have the students studying through self-paced training, assigned through SmartShare, that's our blackboard, begins with e-learning, with supporting documentation that he can grab at a moment's notice. And that's one of the really great things about the flipped classroom training and the content that we are creating is once they're back at their desk, the content is still there. So it isn't a one and done shop. It's going to be followed up with a game, and the game is actually his assessment. We're going to make sure that he's got it, but we're going to do it in a fun way. And he's going to finish up with an online discussion for the social learning aspect. And he can talk to his classmates and post a question for the instructor. And the instructor can answer online, which one of the great things about that is that someone else may have that same question, but as you know, a little too shy to ask. So if you have it out there for everyone, everyone can benefit and learn from it. So how does the student and the instructor track the virtual training and the flipped classroom training to make sure that everyone is on task, that everything is being done, and that we're all ready to go? What we use is SmartShare, and SmartShare is a unique aspect of our approach. We put all of our content into SmartShare, and it is pretty much put in there like a syllabi. It's telling you what you need to do next, what you're going to expect, how long it's going to take, and you check off once you're finished. One of the great things about this is a trainer can go in at any time to see where all their students are. If someone's fallen behind, they can reach out and have a discussion. If somebody's working a little too far ahead and maybe you want them to slow down, make sure that they're getting it and not just checking through some things, you can do that. A manager can go in to check to see the progress of their team member. And as a team member, as someone that is participating in the flipped classroom, I know when I went through flipped classroom training, it was nice that I could go in and see, this is what I've already accomplished, this is what I need to accomplish today, this is how much time it's going to take me, and these are all the resources and tools that I'm going to have available to me today. So this is a really great approach for us, and it has been working out really well. So now we've looked at who's doing it and how we're doing it, and I'm going to turn it over to Jen so she can tell you about what are our results.
All right, so now that Pam has provided a high-level overview of the flipped program here at Anthem, I'm going to provide some flipped program results. So first we'll look at some of our efficiencies that were gained. So in this particular example, we had a new hire instructor-led training course that was converted over to the flip modality. And where in this particular example, we experienced a savings of 40 hours in both the trainer facilitation time as well as the learner's time in training. In addition, there was a substantial cost savings to Anthem as learners were able to move to the floor quicker and trainers were able to actually move on to other projects. So now we're going to take a look at learner effectiveness results. So in this particular example, a virtual instructor-led training course was converted to the flip modality, and we experienced a rise in the overall learning effectiveness, as well as the learners feeling that there was more value in the actual flipped modality. So what are learners saying? Overall, learners are happy with the learning experience in the flipped classroom. Some comment highlights that we have seen include the use of real case call practice scenarios being extremely helpful, skills practice sessions with the trainer, the availability of the trainer now that they're in a coaching role versus that training role, the user-friendly modality, and then the overall social aspect of the flipped via the newsfeed, calendar, and discussion questions out on our SmartShare site. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Peggy.
So that concludes today's Shop Talk, a day in the life of the learning experience designer, and I believe now we're going to open the floor up for questions. So I don't know, do we have questions in the chat already that we could respond to, or the learners can raise their hand?
There's actually been some really good chat going on about what
Has there?
what has been the change, or what brought about the change from instructional designers to learning experience designers. And Angelique has been actually answering a lot of these questions in the chat, and Tony has been in as well. And we have a question here from Bud. Can you talk more about effectiveness in terms of actual job performance improvement using traditional and flipped approaches?
You know, Bud, this is Angelique. I think that's a very insightful question. At Anthem, in our learning and development group, we do measure our program effectiveness. Right now, I think that the jury is out until we have some more data. And of course, Tony, I think, can speak to this with a little bit more specificity than I can. I think we have seen some information, but the volume that I might like to see in some of the other managers so that we can see the validity of the data is not where we'd like it to be. We're still getting to that critical mass. Tony, I don't know if you have any update to that, but I'm feeling that's where I am on that question.
I agree with you, Angelique. That's very accurate. It's difficult for us to get some of that production data that we would like to get to measure effectiveness. It's a big topic for this year and something we're trying to solve, but definitely an opportunity for us.
Steve is asking, what is the job of your learning experience managers? They knock down the roadblocks and get it done and make sure we have the resources to get it done.
Among other things, right, ladies? So I don't know, I can take a whack at it, but I think Pam has sort of summarized it very well. Our job is to make sure that our folks have the resources they need to be creative and to also work with our business partners to negotiate deadlines and other things. And of course, there's the mundane piece, approving PTO, the types of things that are clerical in nature, I guess, if you will. But I think the main job I see, and something that I work very hard at, is trying to inspire my team to be creative. And to feel as though the constraints that they see are not necessarily constraints, but are opportunities to move in a direction that's a little bit more creative, move out of their comfort zones. And that can be pretty challenging. Oh, thanks, Pam. I see that. Thank you very much.
Have we published any documents that describe our process that would be available for an outsider to read, is Bud's question.
I don't know, Tony. In some of the proceedings of conferences that we've attended, there may be some information, but I don't know that we have done a white paper or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. We've done, speaking at conferences, a couple of us just actually returned from the Training Industry Conference that was in Raleigh. We've spoken at the Learning 2017 conference as well. So we don't necessarily publish things because our business is proprietary at this point, so it's difficult for us to do that. But we do speaking events similar to this one here to kind of help spread the word and bring in new interest to the company.
Steve is asking, to what extent, let me see, I'm sorry, it scrolled up. To what extent does Anthem use prototyping and usability testing, especially for new types of efforts, where you don't have good models for what things should look like? That's a really good question.
So I can try and field that one. So regarding like prototyping and usability, we've tried very hard to empower our team to innovate and try new things. So a lot of times we may have an idea, we put something together and we drop it into a training class just to see how it goes. And a lot of times we'll kind of micro evaluate those pieces, and that can include bringing learners in for focus groups and asking questions. But we're fortunate in that our business is willing to take those innovation steps with us and try things in a lot of the cases, not every, but in a lot of those cases. And then if we find out the results are good, then we might take that and broaden it to more teams or more learning programs.
Chet has a really good question. How have your internal customers reacted to the flipped learning model? He has seen it implemented with mixed success in a corporate environment. And that can go back to some of the results from Jen.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that I think we're still looking for that critical mass of data that shows effectiveness, but anecdotally, we are seeing that our associates are responding very favorably to this.
And I'll just add too, anecdotally as well, we've had learners who are actually completing training early because they're able to move at their own speed and they aren't held back or pushed forward by different learners in the class. So far things are pointing that our audiences really enjoy this type of learning.
And this is Pam. I know for the syllabi that I was speaking about earlier, we knocked about a week of training off. So they're getting the same content, they're getting the same training that they need to be on the job, but we're getting them on the job quicker so that they can start working and mentoring and getting in there. So Steve wants to know, now that Anthem has implemented an LED-based approach, what are some of the common career paths within your team?
So I'll jump in here too. Again, this is Tony. I think with having the learning experience design role now, it's actually broadened opportunities. So our LEDs could advance their career by going into management, managing a team of LEDs and or trainers. They could also go into some of the more multimedia type things like performance support design, potentially video creation, more higher fidelity, and even e-learning. So, and there's also the learning project management as well. So I do think that there are many career paths with this role, and it really just kind of depends on where each individual wants to go.
Bud would like to know, did you benchmark other organizations who were using this approach before you implemented it, and if so, who else was using it?
So this is Tony. We have done industry research, and what we're finding is Anthem is kind of leading the way in corporate flipped learning. There are pockets of it elsewhere, but we seem to get a lot of interest in it when we go to some of these conferences. So really the things that we benchmark is a little bit more on cost invested in learners, making sure that we're kind of in line with industry there. But it's been rather difficult to benchmark some of the flipped learning because I think that this is still relatively new in corporate America.
Thank you. And Gina would like to know, but what do you see now as the career path for entry into the LED environment?
Question. One of the things that Tony actually brought to our group when she came on board as a manager is the idea of working with interns from different universities and so forth to not only provide interns with an opportunity to work in a corporate environment, but also for our environment to leverage the freshness and the impact of an intern who's highly motivated to put into practice what they've been learning in a classroom. I think as entry-level LEDs are coming in, they can move fairly at a fairly rapid clip with support from managers through LED 2, LED senior, LED lead, and then into management and other types of roles. There are also opportunities for our associates to move into different roles within learning and development. So recall that one of the slides, the infographic of who's in our neighborhood and sort of who's our village. There are a variety of opportunities in learning program management, in learning infrastructure. Oh, thank you very much. Also in quality and performance support design. That's a really interesting area as well. So there are a variety of opportunities for folks who want to sort of stretch some other muscles.
Could an LED come in as a developer, then move into LED?
I'm confused. I mean, LEDs are coming in as developers, and then they can move into sort of our higher level learning experience designers, seniors, and leads are doing more project leadership, managing very large projects that have multiple designers and so forth. Is that helpful?
Well, I could add to that too, Angelique.
Sure.
I came into learning and development as a documentation analyst. So I started out as a customer service rep, and then I moved into training and development as a documentation analyst. And I moved myself up through setting goals and working and developing myself and mentoring through others, through the documentation analyst to a senior doc analyst into the instructional designer role, and now I'm in the senior LED role. So the advantage to develop and move within Anthem is it's just there. You have plenty of opportunity.
We have a couple people typing. They would love to announce any LED-related job openings Anthem may have. And Steve, could you provide an example where an LED would work with a performance support designer and a learning consultant?
I can also answer that. We have plenty of projects that involve a LPM, Learning Project Manager, Learning Consultant, and additional resources, PSD, to help us with developing documentation for project work. So we have plenty of projects, our larger projects where additional resources are needed. We'll have an LED who's leading the project, and then other LEDs to assist with developing modules, self-paced modules for the training, and then our PSDs to assist with developing documentation for the project, for the training.
Thanks, Peggy. And this is Angelique. I'd like to piggyback on that. On my team, we're utilizing performance support design a little bit differently, where we're having those designers to work with us on development of tools that can be provided to associates who need a quick way to reference information for inquiries they're receiving via phone or correspondence to get those inquiries answered accurately and quickly. And so those tools might reference documents that are developed by the business, but in an electronic way that is very easy to access at the point where the associate needs the information, so that the associate isn't having to go sort of traipsing through a repository to find a process or an answer, depending on what's needed at that particular moment. And so we have in our National Government Services area, our performance support designers working on a portal for that group that would incorporate a variety of different tools, as well as a content repository. So that's another way that we're using performance support design. And I saw a related question from Steve or Chet, the resource requirements. Yes, we do use suppliers, and you recall that Pam mentioned earlier that she came in as a supplier, as a contractor, and was hired on full-time.
And I can say for the syllabi that we looked at currently for the NCC Research Slip, we have a learning consultant that is kind of driving and tracking, but we have used our PSDs to create our interactive decision guides. So we've taken those workflow documents that we have, and we've partnered with our performance support designers to create these online tools that our employees can go back to their desk and use. So it's not just about developing training, we're giving them actual tools to make their jobs easier and to increase the member experience and make things a little easier for the member as well. So we partner a lot to get things done. So Steve is asking, in the determination of the various roles that client partners will need to respond to a given request is something that's negotiated with the request for training, right? It is a negotiation. You know, we have to look at, you know, what are our resources that we have available, what is the project, and what's the best way to deliver that to make sure that everything gets met. And we're negotiating resources, we're negotiating timelines, so that we can get things done. So Steve is saying, or asking, it seems that Anthem has found a way to avoid being mere order takers for client training requests. How did you accomplish that? And speaking for myself and for what we do, it's a team. And we see it as a team. You know, we're working together for one common good and one common goal. So how do we all make that work? And Angelique, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. I love what you said there, and I don't know if Tony would want to chime in, but I think we have a lot of success in some areas with not being order takers, and in some cases we still end up as difficult as it is taking an order. I mean, that's the reality of the situation, I believe.
Yep, I completely agree, Angelique.
Chet really likes the matrix type approach. Thank you. But another way of asking Steve's question is, do you ever decline to develop training because you know it's not a training issue?
I would say that we don't ever say no. Let me just say that. But what we do say is, yes, we're going to help you with this business, and here's a way to achieve what you're trying to achieve, and try to negotiate from that perspective. Because once an individual hears no, it just it's just not a happy situation, right? So we want to sort of drive them in a direction that helps them in the best way we think is going to be helpful, while at the same time giving our associates opportunities to be creative.
And that all comes out as a part of our performance consulting when we receive a request. When we look at actually, when we really dig down into what is the issue, it does open up a lot of really good conversations. But like Angelique said, coming out the gate with a no is not the way to handle things. Has the use of the flipped approach combined with the matrix of LED-related expertise produced any pushback from clients who think everything is getting too darn complex?
So I'll speak to that. This is Tony. I think it depends on the audience about the type of pushback we might get. What I've noticed is if we have an existing audience, people who have been with Anthem for a while and maybe have gone through training in one of our past events, they may push back against us a little bit more than maybe a new hire who comes in and just says, this is the way Anthem does training. So we definitely gear our change management efforts differently based on our audience. And I won't say we haven't gotten pushback, because we have, but I think a lot of it is really rooted in the change management and learning, taking learning from being a passive role to being an active role that has required a little bit of extra change management.
So Steve is asking what percentage of your overall LED efforts are targeted to compliance training, performance support, and skill training. I'm not sure who would have those numbers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can't honestly say that I've looked at that number, Steve, but I can tell you that before, when we were carved out, where we had our e-learning group sort of separated out, and then we had our instructional design group doing more traditional ILT and VILT solutions, that entire e-learning group was devoted to corporate compliance and those sorts of efforts. Within the teams, though, your other question about performance support and skill training, the other teams were handling that side. When I look at it, it looks like we had a third of our capacity sort of geared toward compliance, and then 2/3 geared toward everything else, if that makes any sense.
And Steve is asking, what do our LED presenters and managers like most about their jobs? Who would like to go first?
So this is Tony. I'll jump in because I absolutely love my job. I really just love that we have the opportunity to innovate and try new things. I think we have a highly talented group that we work with, and it just makes coming into work fun every day.
I agree. I was like having that me moment, like I'm raising my hand, if you could see me, like saying I really admire my colleagues, and I really have just such a high regard for the associates on my team, like Pam, who's presenting today. The creativity they bring to the task, and the patience that they bring to working within the team, and of course across teams with our business partners and so forth, it is just really inspiring.
And this is Peggy. I'll add to it. As an LED, I just enjoy being able to think outside the box, being creative. Each day is something new, and working with just an all-around great team and sharing, brainstorming together. It's a lot of fun.
This is Jen.
And this is Pam. Please go, Jen.
Oh, this is okay. Thanks. Just to reiterate, it's the same collaboration with my team. Have a great group of creative individuals. We work well as a team. Things for me anyway are different every day. I love that, going to, that it's different. So Pam, go ahead.
I agree. It's different every day. The team is amazing and always kind of pushed to do something new and different. I don't know how many times I've come to Angelique and I've said, I would really like to try this. I think this would work. And she said, give it a go. And you don't get that, at a lot of places. So I've been able to use all these different skills that I have in my toolbox. And it's so much fun. I really, really enjoy it. Chet's last question. Is it the learning consultant that pulls the matrix team together when you get the new request? So they would ask for the LED, the PSB, and the e-learning employees for each project?
This is Jen. I could actually answer this one. It depends. You could have a big project that you would have a learning consultant or a learning program manager that would get that team together, working with obviously the managers to fill those resources that are needed. But then there are some projects that a lot of times the LED could actually be kind of in that learning consultant / program role. It all depends. And then they would work with getting the other individuals that are needed for the project. So again, it just depends on the type of project, how large the project is, and other factors. So great question.
My email address for Peggy Naydock, Jen Brown, and Pamela Perry, in case after today's presentation, if there may be some questions that come up around instructional design or learning experience design, feel free to reach out to us. And thanks everyone for your attendance today. We appreciate your time. Have a great day. Steve?
Jen, thank you, Angelique, Tony, Erica, all your support in bringing this webinar to us. We really appreciate you being so gracious in sharing your time and your expertise with us.
Well, thank you. We really enjoyed it.
I guess at this point we are concluding our webinar. I thank you all for attending and participating. Goodbye now.